Radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right. Good evening. How you doing? Today is Thursday, December 5th, 2024. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. And normally, because it's Thursday, I say at this point, it's my Friday. Yeah. And, just to get under everybody's skin, because this is my last night of the week, right? But not this week. No, it is Thursday, but tomorrow is Friday. And I announced earlier this week, this is my plans for tomorrow. I am going to do a special Fade to Black tomorrow night that I don't normally do on a Friday. And it's going to be a recap of my trip to Peru. I just got back this week, and I spent almost 3 weeks down there in Peru and Bolivia with Brian Forrester and an amazing group of now friends and family. And so I've got lots of video, I've got images, I've got stories, I've got some revelations. I learned a lot. And I got some pretty crazy stuff also as well, as far as video goes, that I didn't know if I was going to air, but I decided, you know what? Nah, it'll be too much fun to show some of this video to you guys tomorrow night. So that's what's happening tomorrow night, a special Fade to Black recap of my trip to Peru and Bolivia with Brian Forrester and Hidden Inca Tours. Okay. All right. So get ready for that, kids. It's going to be a lot of fun. And now, as we get started on this Thursday, not my Friday, today is officially my Thursday. There you go. And we've had an amazing week this week on Fade to Black. Coming back from Peru, went straight to it. On Monday night, we had Thomas Winterton here from Skinwalker Ranch. Amazing. On Monday, by the way, which is coming up on us pretty quick, Monday was Thomas Winterton. This Monday, Dragon is going to be here, Brian, from Skinwalker Ranch. That'll be this Monday. This week on Tuesday, we had Dr. Steve Eisenstadt with us talking about the Imagination Matrix. That was on Tuesday night. Great show. And then last night, we had Tom Dongo with us talking about Sedona and UFOs. Another fantastic show. Love when Tom is on with us. Tonight, it is Sharon Komorn with us, and she's got a new film out. She's a filmmaker, and it is called Alien Experiencer. So we're going to be talking about that tonight, and the fact that we didn't have an alien invasion that I was looking forward to. Supposed to happen on the 3rd, maybe yesterday, the 4th. Here we are on the 5th. It's not Thursday. No alien invasion yet. Now, I do have 4 major events coming up. I actually have 8, but these are the next 4 coming up for me in 2025. That is the Conscious Life Expo right here in Los Angeles at the LAX Hilton, the largest conference in the world. I've been hosting this conference now for 10 years, and it is February 7th through the 10th, 2025 at the LAX Hilton. We have special events all weekend long, the full schedule, all of the speakers, and how to get tickets and making arrangements. Those links are below at consciouslifeexpo.com. Coming up right after that is Rise of the Guardians. This is March 29th and the 30th, 2025 in Sedona, Arizona. Again, the links for that are below. Tomorrow, I am going to do a show with Rion, and I'll keep everybody posted on that. If it's going to be live, then it'll be live. I'll put the links up. If it's going to be taped, I'll let you know when that is going to be released. Then after that, immediately after that, which is the Contact Modalities Expo, I'm heading to the Midwest an amazing list of speakers. And I'm hosting and speaking at this, as well as we're doing a Sky Watch with Chris Bledsoe. This is May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 2025 in Delavan, Wisconsin at Delavan Lake. And I'm going to the Midwest, everybody. I cannot wait to hang out with my people. I'll see everybody there. That's May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. The links are below. Right now, there are early bird tickets. I think it's $50 off. So head to the link below for contact modalities. And then I'm going to Peru twice next year. My first trip to Peru will be in June, and this is for the Inca celebration of the sun. This is on the solstice, and we've got special seating and all kinds of really cool things for Sacsayhuaman, where the celebration is going to be held. And this is also with Brian Forrester. We're going to see all of Peru, but this event is special. So come and hang out with us. It's selling out. So if you want to go and visit Peru with me and Brian Forrester, get signed up now, hiddenincatours.com. This is June 17th through the 27th. And also there is a Nazca Lines add-on at the end of this tour, and you can get signed up for that too as well. All right. I think I've got everything in. I want to thank Christina Gomez, by the way. Did her show again earlier today, Mysteries with the History. Just an amazing show. She's so good. And, covering what is going on right now with drones and orbs and things going on around the world. It was just a great, fun show earlier today. Christina is the best. And there you go. I always do 3 shows on Thursday. This is our 3rd show today. And tonight it is Sharon Komorn, and she is with us. She's got a new film out. It's called Alien Experiencers. This is one of my favorite subjects. And we're going to go through all of that tonight, because in the film, she explores personal accounts of encounters with non-human intelligence and the transformative impact these experiences have on individuals. Sharon is a filmmaker. She's a researcher with over 25 years of experience in the film industry. She holds a B.F.A. from the University of Texas in Austin and a film production certification from Dove Seimen's training at Paramount Studios. Now, we're going to go through all of that and much more tonight. This is one of my favorite subjects, and I want to get straight to it. I am back. That was strange. I don't know if the audio or if the video stopped, but my screen just went blank. So let's see about that. Sharon, welcome to the show. And here's the thing. We're going to get to the first time guest disclaimer in a second. You're a filmmaker, director, producer. You do all of that. You've been in the film industry for a long time. I'm nervous. I want to know if I'm framed right, if my lighting is good, how's my audio, is catering acceptable to you? I need to know all of it. And then what happens? My screen goes blank, right, as I bring you onto the stage. That's the way it goes. All right. So we'll get to my framing and lighting in just a second. But first, you get the first time guest disclaimer, which is this, Sharon. It's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. And where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, it ends. But we're going to end as friends. You ready to go?
Absolutely. Great.
Okay. Yeah, you have to accept for us to move on. So are you picky? How is my framing? How is my lighting? And as a director and a producer, are you one of those that sits in a tall director's chair and barks commands and a soy latte with no foamy milk?
No, I'm a Geppetto.
You're a Geppetto, right?
I'm out there doing taping things and fixing someone's outfit or trying to figure out how to do glycerin tears or that type of thing.
Glycerin tears. I live in Hollywood. Well, I live in Palmdale now, just outside of Hollywood. And I often, because of where I live, everybody around me, well, not now in Palmdale, everybody works at Skunk Works and is, hiding alien bodies out in the desert. But in Hollywood, Burbank, where I've lived for the last 40 years, everybody is a film critic. Everybody's involved in the industry. Wherever you live, across the street is a set dresser. Next door is somebody that's in costume. Your other next door neighbor has a catering business, right? You've got a screenwriter living on the. It's everywhere. It's the industry, right? And so I pick things apart. And one of the things I pick apart, I'm being serious, are those fake tears. Are they really crying? Did somebody come in with an eyedropper? What's really going on? Yeah, glycerin tears. I love that. And I think it's very important. This is me, but this is my first question to you: is how difficult is it to capture authenticity, to make sure that you're getting to the person, the personality, and getting past their mask? Because especially with what you're doing, a lot of these people it's their first time on camera and they're trying to be somebody that they're not. It's your job to get past that, isn't it?
Yes. And especially with these type of real life stories, I start off by just a soft interview. I interview again. And I have a set of commonalities that experts in the field have provided me. And these commonalities are, they have to do with experiences, abduction experiences. Wonderful Kathleen Marden, niece of Betty and Barney Hill. Les Velez, who's with the Experiencer Research Team with MUFON, a dear friend and is in the documentary. They have provided me with lists of commonalities that as I listen to someone's story, I start getting green flags. Yep, that's typical. That's not that something that happens that isn't typical is not real, but it helps me to give some substantiability to their story. And I use that as a framework. It just helps me. These stories are so hard to validate. Not everyone takes a cell phone with them and takes pictures inside of spacecraft and that type of thing. So you look at a person's history, you look at who they are, and I get them to tell their stories over and over and over again. And then we film. A wonderful director I directed with him, and director of photography, Bob Toulier, here in Dallas. And we've worked together on other projects. But we film 4 hours of a story, and we have 4 top stories. We have some soft stories that we kind of break into the whole subject matter with. But the 4 top stories, we film 4 hours of I'm from the old school footage, right? It's on a file, a digital file.
I got you.
Yeah.
Right.
But we do 4 hours of filming just to put them in the film for 20 minutes. But we provide that to them so they can see what they're saying, what they might have disclosed a little too personal, they don't want out there. We try to make we just want to be sure everyone's comfortable with what's getting out there. We don't want a story that they're going to feel jeopardized by later. And of course, we know the climate. The climate is such that experiencer stories are important. We want people who have experienced these events want to get their story out, but at the same time, they don't want the men in black knocking on their door. They don't want the helicopters. And believe me, we've had some of that too happen. But so we don't want to hurt anyone's, their families. We have a certain condition in the world right now with our disclosure movement going on, but it's still, even though they say, oh, whistleblowers and all this, no, there's still,
it's still taboo.
yeah,
It's still
yeah,
taboo.
yeah,
It's still taboo.
and it's tough because now it seems like people don't care. It's like, damn the torpedoes. I want my story out. I want people to know what's going on, blah blah blah. But you certainly don't want them to end up being intimidated or someone in their family being hurt because they've disclosed something they shouldn't have, or according to government.
Here's part of the thing with that is that an experiencer, we're going to get to the definition of experiencer in just a second because it varies from person to person, but there was a TV show called People of Earth. Did you see it?
I loved it.
Okay. And I loved the show. First off, it was great and it was funny and it was all of that. But I think that it enabled those that are experiencers to maybe grin a little bit at themselves because it's so personal, it's so emotional that it's difficult to talk about. It's difficult to expose yourself. You're stripped down naked when you go and discuss these things. But People of Earth, I think, enabled everybody to just kind of back up a little bit and go, okay, I need to relax a little bit about this.
Brilliant writing.
It was so brilliant. It was so brilliant.
The reptilian boss.
Oh, that's still the best. But because I have done enough work in this community to know that my personality is not a mask. It's who I am. And sometimes I can be a little offensive. Sometimes my comedy isn't for everybody. But I'm being myself. But I've had experiencers come up to me and go, what the fuck are you doing? You can't joke about this. This is something, this is serious, man. This is something. And I'm just like, we need to loosen up in this community.
Yes.
I understand how sensitive this is, but the pressure that everybody's putting on themselves with this is torturing, right? And you're doing that to loosen up a little bit. Let's get it out there. And that's what People of Earth did. And so when experiencers are sitting there and they're telling their story, I think that they need to tell it all. They shouldn't hold back. Just let it out there. It's going to be okay in the end. And it's important. Now it seems, and you're right, that it's a safer place these days to talk about these subjects, but people are still a little apprehensive because they've been ridiculed and teased for so many years, right?
The 4 top stories that we filmed, I could do a whole documentary on each one of them.
Sure.
What we left out is overwhelming. What we were able to put in, and we would just, hit that envelope a little bit. We did. And just hoping that softening would happen within the public sphere, which it has some because of the congressional meetings and so forth. But there's the stories have been just phenomenal, and these 4 particular stories. Now I think you've interviewed Terry Lovelace before, have you?
I've interviewed, I think, everybody that's in the film. Yeah,
Jim Mars, of course. I'm sure you were friends with Jim. Oh my gosh,
I was very close. I was very close with him, and he's somebody that I still think about every day. Just an incredible person.
Was wonderful. He really was. What a blessing he was to work with and have in the film. he had, this is what I loved so much. I mean, I heard you use this term this past week and I loved it. Full woo,
Yeah,
you were
full
talking about,
woo.
yeah.
Hmm.
Guilty as charged. I am full woo, a lifetime of experiences, you name it, out of body, everything. Okay. So I'm already there. I'm full woo. And luckily I have friends from, my cousin, our best friends. uh, we we kind of all became full woo together, as in our 20s early on, and then of course we were trying to find out, more about souls, consciousness, everything, and we kept on our journeys. So it was good to have that supportive group, more or less. As I hit like in the 1980s, 1990s, the soul was very important to me. I did understand that consciousness was prime by then, but what about the soul? What happens with the soul? And in my research on the soul, it brought me to the ET subject. And then, of course, I did my own personal investigations and experiences and so forth. But the 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 fact that we have such a rich uh, uh, workings of realms of everything going on is so wonderful and so beautiful. Consciousness, uh, soul progression, transcendence, vibrations, frequencies, dimensions, everything, and non-human contact happening within that is magnificent. And we live in a magnificent universe. But I have found that people who broach this subject many times take it into the full woo 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 aspect. And Jim Mars made it folksy. He'd sit around and just talk about it. Let's talk about world views and how come somebody can see a big UFO and somebody doesn't at the same time. He made it folksy and personable, and uh, I wanted him so badly to host the show. I really did. Luckily, we spent an entire day with him and filmed him at his ranch outside of Fort Worth, and have wonderful footage of Jim. And so he became the main commentator in the documentary, and that was wonderful. But he did help set a tone for us as we were developing and being creative about, uh, uh, I hate to admit this, but it took me a long time to get this produced. It really did. I had been interviewing for years beforehand, and hundreds and hundreds of interviews of people, not even experiencers, just people. How would you feel if non-human entities were within your everyday life and so forth? So I had some very interesting interviews early on, but it took a long time to get all this done. And in the process, while we were interviewing, we were filming uh, experiencers and also people who were experts in the field, in research and psychiatry, psychology, with MUFON, all kinds of people in that area. God bless Nick Pope. He came on. He's in the documentary. He came on with some great material. But while we're doing that, we're trying to figure out our tone. How we want the beauty of the experience of contact to be there, but there's all different phases involved in that. There's a horrible part of fear that goes to curiosity and then to communication, and then we found in many cases bliss. And not everyone had bliss, not everyone had fear, but that range of experience, personal experience. And we wanted to communicate that, but we were trying to find our tone. How did we want to bring this forward? And I'm so grateful to Jim Mars for his folksy and personable
He
attitude.
had that Texas drawl of his, and he knew it too. I mean, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say,
Oh,
Jim
oh yeah.
knew
Oh yeah.
how to control his voice and how people were hearing him, and he had a way of not only calming you, but he went into some very deep, disturbing subjects sometimes.
Yes,
And
yes.
because of his drawl, you were just like, okay, all right, I can handle this. And the other part of Jim, which most people don't know, he was just a journalist, and he was just a newspaper guy, right?
Yeah, yes.
And he went through the Kennedy assassination and came out of the other side of that a different person. And
Oh,
he
yes.
looked at the world completely differently. And that's what drove him, was not only seeking answers to questions, but just how real is the world around us. And he had a way of digesting all of that and then communicating it back out to the masses. Just a fantastic guy.
Uh,
Now, I wanted to ask you this though. Okay,
okay.
let's back up. The definition of experiencer, and I don't even think it's in the dictionary. By the way, I don't think experiencer is in. It's not in my spell check, right? So, what is your definition?
Well, I started out with a definition of humans, a human individual or group of individuals, having contact with non-human intelligences, be they in a shining light form or in a orb or in a humanoid form, and then down into other, not down into, but I mean in other less warm and fuzzy forms, such as
Right.
reptoids and
So,
mantises and all that.
exposure to ET
Yeah,
in one
non-human
form or
intelligence.
another,
Mhm,
but
and
not
as we know in your Skinwalker Ranch people, it doesn't even have to have a form. It can be
for
a
sure.
huge consciousness being out there too. Many, I believe there's a huge range of all of this, just
And
huge
so
range.
the line in the sand, I'm guessing here, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the line in the sand would be seeing something strange in the sky is not an experiencer. An
Yeah.
experiencer is making contact with the intelligence in whatever form it may take.
John Mack, wonderful John Mack, Harvard psychiatrist, head of psychiatry, head of the psychiatric department, and a professor at Harvard, who was taken from us way too soon. I believe, was it 2008 or 2006? He was run over in London. He is the seminal, his book, Abduction, I consider the seminal book in this whole subject matter. And he identified uh, an abductee as someone who was an experiencer, who had been having contact, who is actually taken aboard a craft and has an experience on that craft. Now, again, there's ranges of experience. Some people have had beings appear to them in their bedrooms. Some people have and don't remember going on a craft. And I've actually listened to a regression of a woman who at 7 years old, uh, she knew that she saw something. She and a cousin of hers, and they saw a big UFO, a huge one, next to their house, and then she had no remembrance of it. Later, after a regression, she describes in detail the people in her neighborhood that she knew who were on tables being examined, different rooms with jars and containers with medical devices and parts of people and so forth. So she remembered in detail what she did not remember ever since the age of 7. And she describes it in her regression like a 7-year-old would describe seeing these things. So
Hmm.
there's a a lot of people, Les Velez and I have discussed that we think everyone on this planet has been taken at some point.
Oh, Les
We
has been abducted.
oh
Les is
oh
the
God, yes.
human alien hybrid, in my
Oh
opinion.
oh
I love that
definitely.
guy. Do
Definitely.
you
He's
consider
wonderful.
yourself? I love Les. Les is
Oh,
just
we
absolutely
oh
amazing. Um,
absolutely. Yes,
do
yes.
you consider yourself an experiencer?
And I've had a lifetime of some very interesting experiences. Yes.
Okay, but
But
that's
I
a
cer-
political answer. That's
but
a
I
political answer. Yes or no?
but I certainly in this film, uh, I certainly have focused on, and this is interesting because we're talking about transformative. I do know that when on a personal level, when you've had an outrageous experience and you're trying to place it in some sort of framework, and we live in a world where it's not you just can't talk to anybody about this. You cannot. You get rejected, you get ridiculed, it's still a stigma. It's still a stigma.
For sure.
Not within the community, not within the UFO ET community. No, you can share your stories with each other, but out in the world that is still evolving to this level, it's not easy. And even on a personal level, you're going, did that really happen to me? Did I really go through that? Jimmy, I bet you have some experiences yourself that you go,
You know,
is this for
yeah,
real?
yes, yeah, yes and no, yes and no. Oh man, the show is never about me. Okay, but let me say this. Let me say this. I thought about this a lot, and I get the question a lot, and I get statements thrown at me from people. Jimmy, you're an experiencer. You don't even know it, and so I've thought about this a lot. Do I put myself in that category officially? No. Okay, no. I've seen plenty of things in the sky that I can't explain. That's for sure. Have I made contact? No, not that I know of. I was regressed once, and something was revealed to me that now is a very vivid, perfectly crystal clear memory, but I wasn't conscious of that event. Okay. It was very strange and everything. But does that make me an experiencer? No, it's possible, but I don't put myself officially in that classification. But, and I don't use bad language on this show. Okay. But I'll say this, I talk about some of the things that I've gone through, which is some of the craziest shit ever to come out of somebody's mouth. And I expect the respect from whoever I'm saying it to, and in this case it's the audience, to at least listen to me. It's my experience, right?
Yes.
And I listen to everybody else. I do. I give them the same respect. But does that make me an experiencer? I don't think so. Not yet. Now, if I cross the line and I feel that at some point that I am an experiencer, I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it.
I think about this. It's a story of Father Damien, who would go out, and he lived on the leper island with the leper colony, and every morning he'd go out and he'd give a little blessing to all the lepers. And then one day he realized that he had gotten leprosy himself. And that morning he went out to preach to the lepers, and he used the word we. We lepers, we understand, blah blah blah. And everyone at that point knew that he had actually contracted himself. And
Wow, that's interesting. Woo, that's heavy.
yeah,
That's heavy. That's heavy. When I was a kid, God, I haven't heard that term in a long time. Check this out. I'm just going to share a little tidbit that I don't think I've ever said on the air. When I was a kid, I lived in Panama, and I used to go do a lot of sailing out in the canal, sailboats, right? And I'm out on this sailboat with a few people, and we're out, and this on the Pacific side of the Panama Canal. We're out and we're cruising, and somebody on the boat points into the jungle, right, on the shoreline, and says, "There's the leper colony," right? I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what it means. I don't know anything. I was like, a what? And I could see it. It's a little village in the jungle, right? I could see it. And I go, "What's a leper colony?" And then they told me. And the vision of that and the isolation, right? Because it's like separated from the town, and we're all over here, right? Panama City, way up the coastline in the jungle was this little village, the leper colony. And they told me it was, it was gated off, and there was no access to it. And why? Yeah, it freaked me out. Every time I went sailing, I would always look at it and just wonder who was there. Yeah. Okay. I digressed. Okay. So let's back up.
Okay.
With, so experiencer, and this is not for the community, but for anybody else that's going to listen to the show, an experiencer lies in the middle then, right? So you've got whatever, you've seen craft in the sky, you watch Star Trek, right? You're over here. In the middle is the experiencer that has made contact with an NHI, a non-human intelligence, and then an abductee is over on the other side, right? So experiencer lies somewhere in the right.
Gone up in a ship. And many experiencers do not know that they have been abductees either. So it is really special to find an experiencer who knows they've been an abductee, and actually a multiple abductee. I'd say out of the 4 top cases that we present, every single one of them have been a multiple abductee since childhood. Now, our very last experiencer, abductee, does not consider herself an abductee. She is a hybrid, and she has had a beings family as well as her Earth family since she was 7 years old. They presented themselves to her and told her that she was part of them. And she has had a phenomenal life. She wanted her story to be told. She has been, I believe she still is, on the experiencer research team with MUFON, and has worked with Kathleen Marden and Les and others. And she recounts special play dates her mother would take her to since she was 3 years old, and they were aboard a craft with other children, and she has made contact with some of the other children who were on that craft over the years.
Fascinating. And okay, so for me, I always look at, as it mentioned, I'm full woo. All right. but what I need to keep me grounded and sane, right, in my full wooedness, is I need scientific stuff. I need some I need some proof, just to let myself know that I'm not nuts. Okay. Right. And so in Peru, I might be able to pull up some pictures. You know what? I won't delay the show. Oh. There is a mummy down there that has been around for about 50 years, and its name is Waikiki. And it's on display in this museum. And the archaeologist that discovered this particular mummy in a royal tomb sued. The Peruvian government came after him to take possession of the mummy. And he ended up winning in court and beat out the Peruvian government and was allowed to be the caretaker of this mummy. Now, here's the thing with this. This mummy, this child, is about 2 years old. The fontanel, the opening, right, has not healed. It's still open on the crown. So it would indicate that it's under 2 years old. That's the first thing. But the second thing, this mummy's this big. It's about 14 inches tall. The head of this mummy is half of the size of the mummy. It's about the size of a large russet potato, an elongated skull, with the fontanel open on the top, with adult molars. It's got adult molars, just like your teeth, right?
Mhm.
And you look at this thing, and you look at the eyes, and you look at the, and you look, and you're like, that. People talk about a hybridization program, and as crazy as that may sound, this may be the best evidence that we have of that. It's crazy to look at. This child was born this way, right? It's 2 years old. And that's the part where I just back up and go, well, there's something going on here.
Well, I think we need to break out of our little bubbles. I think I agree that there's a transformation going on right now. I don't know if we're getting the solar gamma rays and they're affecting us in special ways, but I do feel a bigger groundswell than previously of people trying to open their world views. Think about all the species of fish down below. And the more and more we research, the more and more we find the most amazing creatures. I mean, it's like the cosmic design team went crazy on these things. I mean, the colors and the shapes and the faces and they're phenomenal. And we have the James Webb Telescope out there, and it's telling us, that we're not talking billions, we're talking trillions of galaxies and universes. And so I would think there would be trillions of species. I mean, everyone was, how many species are we working with? Well, Fred Campobosa, in his book, he presents about 80, and he could have presented twice that much that he knows of.
Infinite. It's an infinite amount.
Yes.
Infinite.
So we've got to just crack open our little shells, our little egg shells that we're in. And a big point I try to make in this documentary is embracing our multidimensionality, embracing our ultra frequencies that we connect with, not just the ones in our visible field of vision. Embracing it, though, not it's time to do that. It's time to discuss our experiences. It's time to share our experiences. It's time to grow up. We do have a place in this universe, and it's not the king of the jungle, actually, and allow ourselves to expect and live in a universe where we will come in contact, if we haven't already, with other non-human intelligences, whether it's out on the Skinwalker Ranch, whether someone is going to go, sky high tonight and end up in and I've talked to experiencers and abductees who have spent days, almost weeks on crafts. Ones who have overcome that, there seems to be this range, fear, then curiosity, communication, and then bliss. And I try to bring that out with each person's story, kind of where they are with what they're going to be telling you. And there are people who have been abducted, and they've had great communication. There are people who have flown other beings' crafts. So this is going on, and people are talking about it more now. It's within our community. It's within our UFO ET savvy. We know kind of these stories. We know what's going on in this community. This documentary is almost like a primer. It's even though it has plenty of stuff for people who are in the community, the UFO ET community, who can enjoy it and so forth on many different levels. It's a good documentary, and again, owing to Jim Marr's folksy attitude, it's a good one for people to kind of wrap their heads around some of this.
Yeah, get your feet wet.
It's a primer. It's a good primer, and people like Jim Marrs, who has had that #1. He still, I mean, it's still in this genre. It's worldwide a #1 bestseller. Alien Agenda, and John Mack's book Abduction. You know, I consider both of those just primal to for someone to get their heads wrapped around this. I actually have been approached by the president of the DFW, Dallas Fort Worth Rotary Club, who believes that his Rotarians need to see this. These are people who are in corporations and have worked with the government for years. And he said, this is what we need to be showing people, something that they can, you know, we take it slow. We the first few stories, or just kind of get acquainted with a non-human intelligence in a way. There was a young boy who saw an ET in an old country store in McNairy, Texas, near El Paso. His grandfather knew the store owner, took him in there to see it. They have, the store has since been burned to the ground, but and the ET's gone. But it was in a case, and this young man recounts his story of seeing that. And so,
wait, what?
Yes.
What? I've never, oh man, okay.
Yes. So, and as a matter of fact,
no. What happened? Okay, it was a store.
Okay. This is in
and
the
he
70s.
was taken into. This was in Texas.
His grandfather. Yeah, this is our opening scene, basically. The grandfather takes him into this old country. It's got buffalo skulls and rattlesnake skins and everything in this old country store. And his best friend owned the store in McNairy, Texas, about 50 miles, I believe, southeast of El Paso. And so the store owner takes him down into the back levels of the store and opens up with 3 keys this room that has a case with an ET in it.
No way.
Yes. And so with our camera shots, and we had a highly talented creature maker from California make this ET for us, and had him in a case. And you know, magic things happen sometimes in filmmaking. The man who describes what he saw describes a light at the top of the room, a big window at the top of the room shining down. As luck, I don't know, would have it, we found a room like that, an old train station room to film this in. And but we very carefully with the camera, the mouth and the nose and the ears and the skin and a 2-foot tail it even had, everything, you know, little suction cups on the fingers. And so what we're trying to do is acclimate. You know, of course we see lots of great sci-fi movies and, you know, ETs all over the place, but just we try to get on a real personal level. These are personal stories. These are very subjective, personal stories. All 4 of them have plenty of evidence that we're talking about. We have people have X-rays with their implants and all kinds of
Jerry
stuff.
Lovelace, yeah.
For sure. So all four of these do have evidence, but we didn't spend our time on the evidence on that. We just wanted them to tell their stories and bring them to life a little bit. And anyone who wants to go and read any of their books can read all about the evidence. So we were, not only did they fit the commonalities that we had, you know, in front of us about what to do, they also had good evidence. We felt they were very credible people. And very
Yeah,
credible stories.
Terry's absolutely incredible.
Oh,
Before we head to the break, I want to talk about
ironclad.
Terry for a second. I was exposed to Terry a few years before he decided to go public, and I think I did the first interview with him.
Oh, wonderful.
But anyway,
He
so I
he had
read.
to tell you hello. He said, "Please
He's
tell me."
man, that
Please
guy's the
tell me hello.
best. So
He is.
anyway, um, his CV and his pedigree, right? And you look at that and you just ask yourself, why would somebody with this kind of background and this kind of life want to come out and do this when he's clearly in the safe zone, right?
Yeah.
He's in
Yeah.
the safe zone, man. He's in the safe zone.
Assistant
And
Attorney
so,
General for 5 years for Vermont. Assistant Attorney General,
yeah,
5
yeah.
years in Guam.
All
Good friends
that, all that,
Good friends
all
with
that.
Bernie Sanders. Good friends with Bernie Sanders.
Yes, yeah. Well, take the Bernie Sanders part out. That doesn't do him in. Anyway, it was just a joke, people. It was just a joke, but I wouldn't talk about Bernie Sanders anyway. So, but you look at Terry. Here's somebody that has got a very distinguished look. He's educated. He speaks well. He's funny too, as well. That guy's a funny dude.
Oh, we're
Great
friends.
sense of humor. But and then you listen to him tell his story. It's like, holy crap, right?
Yeah.
And I think that he is a good spokesperson. Is that the right? Yeah, I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
For other experiencers to go, well, hey man, if Terry's doing this, then I don't
Then I
have
can
any
come out.
excuse.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. He's prime. Yeah, Terry is the best, absolutely the best, and the most ironclad case I think out there.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, for sure.
One of them. Yeah, Travis Walton too, and so forth.
Well,
But, Terry.
yeah. Now, okay, so Terry Lovelace, man, I love that guy.
He did tell me to tell
here's-
you hello, and you are the best. He said you are the best.
He's listening right now, and he's like, "Church, I love you." That's what but here's the problem that we have. The problem is this: there are millions of experiencers on this planet.
Yes,
Millions.
in every country,
Millions. And for millions of years, ET has been visiting this planet. And
living here too.
all different kinds and different areas of the universe have been visiting this planet. But when ET shows up and starts to have a conversation openly with us and says, hey, we've been hanging out with you guys for a long time. There are millions of people on this planet that we have been talking to and hanging out with and doing things with. Well, the experiencers are going to go, see, this is what I've been on about, right? And they need that validation. They do, right? So they can sit up. The rest of the world, I don't know if they can handle it. They know ET is out there, but mingling with us for millions of years, I think that's going to be a bit tough for everybody to deal with, don't you?
We've got to break the ice. We've got to keep and that's this documentary is basically a primer trying to break the ice, keep things where someone can relate to these people who are having these experiences, and know that it's not that odd. These are grandmothers and your neighbors and people who've been kind of shy to talk about it to anybody because you're afraid of the ridicule. That other people. It's like we're living in a couple of different worlds here. The believers, the full out woo woo believers, the on the fence, and then the others who no, don't even talk to me about that. Here's one. I had a wonderful pastor. There was a Zoom group, preppers, wonderful group, and they had a couple of evangelical pastors on this this Zoom group that we meet ever so often and talk about, the state of the world, whatever. Lots of military people and so forth. So there was an evangelical pastor, and I'm on the group, and I kind of keep people up to date a little bit on some of the UFO ET stuff. Well, this pastor, after the Zoom was recorded, he said, Sharon, I'd like to talk with you a little bit, chat with you a little bit. And I'm going, oh, God, an evangelical. He's going to be telling me, these are nothing but demons, and, I certainly have a good answer for the nothing but demons thing, But at any rate, I'm going, okay, I'll handle it as best I can, whatever. And so I'm sure, Pastor so-and-so. Yes, what would you like to discuss? And he said, well, when I was like about 15, my brother and I were riding our bicycles, and a huge UFO came up over us. It was, he said it was about the size of a small town. It was huge out there, and we could see different aspects and parts of it, and we both saw it. When you get a multiple sighting, that's really special, And then you've got a pastor, you think the integrity level is pretty decent there. And then he said, years later, my brother was in the military, and he told me the town in New Mexico, deep underground military dumb base, and was working about 4 or 5 levels down. So I know some that are 40 miles down, basically, not 40 miles, but miles down, 40 levels down, that type of thing. But anyway, they were about 5 or 6 levels down, and he was delivering something in an area that he had never been in before. He and a buddy, and out of one of these rooms, kind of to the hallway, comes a big. The way he described it seemed to me like a 7 to 8 foot tall, not reptilian. Gray. It sounded like a gray, a tall
This
gray.
is the pastor.
The pastor, who I thought was going to give me a big thing about,
Demons.
all ETs are demons, which I've gotten that from people before,
Me too.
Okay, I got to deal with it. All right. So he's telling me this story, and his brother communicated ESP wise with the being for a while, and his friend, and they were kind of enjoying each other, and then the being says, well, I've got to get back to work, and goes back into this room where he was, and his brother and his friend find their way back to where they were supposed to be. They'd gotten a little off track there. So he tells me this story. This was just this past year, and I'm thinking, well, this is interesting, because we have an evangelical. We have someone who has had a sighting, he and his brother both, so 2 people, and his brother has had a contact with an ET who was working with our government. That's an interesting one. That's a real interesting one. So
how do you unpack that? And it makes but it makes you wonder. You just don't know when you're walking down the street who you're walking past, right? Like this pastor, you just do not know. You don't. One time, we're going to head to a commercial break, but check this out. This is one of my favorite things that I experienced. I'm at my dentist office. This is I'm going to go 95, 96, 97, right in there. I'm at my dentist. I'm getting my teeth cleaned or whatever. And JJ, man. And so I'm sitting there, and his mom was the receptionist. Well, there was a lot of people there, but she basically worked the front desk, and she was probably 70, I'm guessing, 75 years old, a German woman, very cool, loved her to death, and very elegant woman. Anyway, I'm sitting there, and I had Colonel Corso's book with me the day after Roswell. And I'm reading that in the lobby, right? I'm in reception.
Okay.
And she goes, I heard about that book. And I kind of looked up and I said, excuse me? And she goes, okay. I was abducted. What? What? And she tells me this story, Sharon. She says, straight face too, man, just matter of fact. She goes, World War II in London, the Nazis were bombing London, and I was 5 years old, and we all went down to the bomb shelters, and I disappeared. I said, what? And she goes, yeah, I was abducted.
Abducted from a bomb shelter in World War II?
I was missing. I said, what do you mean you were abducted? She goes, a small bomb shelter. There's a few families in there. And I was down there, and I just disappeared. And I was gone for about 5 hours. And then I appeared back in the bomb shelter. I said, wait, what? Right? I was just like, what are you saying, old lady? And it was incredible. And she goes, I went on a spaceship, and the little aliens were my friends. And then I came, and this is, it's like 1945, 1944, 43. Yeah. And so again, I had been going into this dentist office for years, hanging out with her, didn't have a clue. I would have never. And she just dropped that bomb on me. She flew a mission and just let it fly. And you just don't know. You don't. Who has had these kinds of experiences and who hasn't?
Wow. Jimmy, am I still on with you?
Yes.
Okay. I've lost us. I accidentally hit a button on my keyboard. I'll pull us back up in a second.
Okay, well, listen, you do that. Let's take our break. Our guest tonight, Sharon Komorn, is with us. We're talking about her new film. It is out, Alien Experiencers. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's Fade to Black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Beckley Teppy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut. River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com.
All right. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Sharon Komorn is with us. She's got a new film out. She co-directed and produced. It is called Alien Experiencers. And that's what we're talking about tonight. And earlier, Sharon asked me if I was an experiencer. And I've thought about this a lot. And so I've had a few incidents in my life, and I'm going to share one that I used to talk about a lot on this show, but I haven't brought it up in probably a few years. But back in 1995, I was living alone. You know, am I an experiencer? Well, so check this out. So I'm living by myself in a condo in Sherman Oaks, California. And I heard I was woken up in my bedroom from a noise, and it sounded like somebody was going through my stuff, and I thought I was being burgled. So I wake up, and my off to my right is a balcony with sliding glass doors, and the blinds were open, and the moonlight was coming in. You could see the room. It's dark, but everything is kind of lit up, right? Okay. So anyway, at the foot of my bed is my TV. There's a couple of speakers there, and my bed off to my right, and I wake up expecting to have a confrontation with somebody, and I hear the noise, and I look down to my right. I'm lying on my back, and I see somebody standing there in front of the blinds that are leading out to the balcony, and not very tall. Now, I'm not going to go into detail here, and I've saved all of that because I listen to everybody, and I'm always connecting the dots, and I don't want to contaminate others' experiences. But anyway, so this thing, and this lasted for about 15 minutes, and I'm planning a Bruce Lee kung fu session, right? And how I'm going to spring out of bed and karate chop this guy in the throat, right? Kind of thing. Anyway, I spring to life, and I jump over, and I turn on the lamp on my left nightstand, and I turn, and this thing is gone. So I jump up out of bed, and I think that whatever it was went past me and out the bedroom door, which is on the left side of the room. So I go out, and I start turning on the lights in my condo. There's nobody there. Everything is locked. Turn on all the lights. I come back into the bedroom. I check the sliding glass door. It's locked. And I think to myself, now, what's going on? Now, so leaving that experience right there, does that make me an experiencer? Whatever was there for sure. How it got out, I don't know. And I'll leave the story with this, with all of you. And as crazy as it sounds, I slept with the lights on for 10 years after that. And the TV, it was crazy. Anyway, so I walk back through the house, and all the lights are on. I come back in, I go back to the sliding glass door, and I look up, and to see if there was a craft there. I did. I literally looked up, and I thought to I crawl back in bed, and I'm thinking to myself, this is Sherman Oaks, man. There's 1 million people that live in the valley. This is a major city. Could there have been, oh, man, and it was a rough night trying to get back to sleep. And I didn't tell anybody about that for, I don't even know. I don't even know the first person that I mentioned it to. I kept it completely to myself. This show has enabled me to not only talk about that, but just go and to go back and relive the memory. Did that, I went through that and it's part of my journey and everything, but does that make me an experiencer? I don't know. I don't have any answers about what was in my room or what I experienced. I don't know. It came and went, and it never happened again. That was the other thing. It never happened again. I will say this before I bring Sharon back on. It was physical. There was noise going on in my room. There was noise. There was stuff like getting moved and so much so that it woke me up. So there you go. Let's bring Sharon back in. Sharon, when you hear something like that, and I don't share that story too often because just like we're talking about here, I'm uncomfortable with it. I'm uncomfortable. And I don't want people to turn around and say something like, Jimmy's making it up, or he's crazy, or but that's the same thing that experiencers go through, isn't it? It's the very same reasons.
Yes, it is. I'm sorry. I want to get this on right.
You're good.
Okay.
But but my reticence, my apprehension in talking about it, like right now, I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not, and you would think after 2,000 shows, I'm not. I don't know if you ask me to come on, for your documentary to sit down and do an interview. I don't know if I would. I don't know.
We're trying to get there.
How do you vet somebody like me? An experiencer. I just call myself an experiencer. I am not, but you still have to, you've got to vet them. How do you go about that?
Welcome to the leprechaun colony. Not leprechaun, leper colony. You are an experiencer. Most people are.
But how do you vet somebody's background and their story?
It takes a while. There's a long process. Luckily, I have a relay on my phone. I don't know why. Luckily, it took a long time to make this documentary. I hope I'm sounding right.
You sound fine. Hang on for a second. I'm gonna do something here.
Okay.
Okay. Now it should be gone.
Okay. And everything else is gone on here too. I don't even see myself.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Sharon, we're live on the air. You're good.
Okay.
You had two versions of yourself up. I just removed the other one, and that was the echo. Okay. So anyway, so how do you vet somebody?
Well, for 3 years, I was the assistant area coordinator for the DFW MUFON group. And we would have meetings and presentations. And every so often, we'd have an experiencer event where people could come and tell their stories. So I started meeting people who had very interesting stories. And actually, one of the wonderful gentlemen who had a story but was not ready to share it publicly also knew Terry Lovelace and brought Terry to me to meet at a pub. And we sat down and we spoke, and he told his story. And so I engaged Terry to let's talk about it some more, and we'd talk some more, and we'd talk some more. And after hearing his story 3 or 4 times, I realized what he had, and started making arrangements that we might film him. Jim Wittenberger. And I believe you've spoken to Jim maybe on a call-in session, and I just adore Jim Wittenberger too. Let me tell you, all 4 of the top abductees, plus the other soft stories that we told ahead of time before getting into the 4 heavy-duty stories. Uh, all of us have gotten to know each other, love each other. We've become friends. It's almost like a road show in a way. I mean, we support each other during COVID. We'd have Zoom meetings and chat. And we have Les Velez, who's a commentator, a specialist in the field. We had wonderful Kathleen Dean, who was a therapist, and Kathleen became a dear friend of mine, and she passed away a couple of years ago from cancer. We have wonderful Dr. Robert Schwartz, a psychiatrist in the Dallas area. Over 40 years of practice, he has opened himself up to letting his patients who come to see him for all kinds of different issues, but some of them have opened up about their experiences, about their abductions. And he showed up at one of our MUFON meetings, and he looked at me. The first thing he ever said, he handed me his card. He said, "This, you know what, is real." I said, "Yes, it is." And then I directed him over to an area where there were 4 or 5 other therapists there. And I said, "You might want to chat with them. Everyone here is helping. We're all helping other people." Of course, Les has the organization Opus, and they help people worldwide 24/7. He started the foundation. So this way, we were able to, we created a collection of people. In 2019, I was invited by AlienCon to not only be on a panel, and that's how I met Nick Pope. I was on a panel with him, and there were 5 of us: Kathleen, Carol, and Corey, and Nick, and we had Daniel Allen Jones from the Dallas area on there, and I think Albert Rosales. Anyway, they invited me to be on that panel discussing abductions, and they gave me my own panel. And on that panel, I brought on Terry Lovelace. I brought on Annie Geckman, hybrid. I brought on Jane Nelms. Jane is from England, and her father was an abductee. Her father was knighted, and her father was the futurist for Queen Elizabeth. She would call him in to discuss, because of his precognitive abilities, call him in to discuss strategizing and what he could kind of foresee for England coming up. And when she, as a 10-year-old, had her first abduction, and then had some afterwards, consulted with her father, who was able to handle that with her.
How much of this is generational?
Oh, a lot of it is generational. We have found it's very generational. Now, these are people who know about that. There are other people who do not know that it's generational, and they'll take their mother or father to a therapist or a psychiatrist and say, my mother's saying that she's being abducted by aliens. And of course, they don't know. They don't know how to judge a case or whatever, and we'll pass them off as just delusional. In certain cases, though, when you have Dr. Schwartz, he has gotten to know the 4 top cases, everyone individually. He has made. He went to a MUFON conference with Jim Wittenberger. They attended one together, and he was able to see Jim lived adjacent to Wright Patterson, and had tremendous experiences there. And they went and visited his childhood home and places and so forth together. He was able to visit Annie Geckman in Arizona and go over her stories with her. He was able. He and Terry have become great friends, and also Jane Nelms. He visited out their country home and visited with her. And I never told anyone what to say in this documentary. All I did I would ask a few questions. I'm not on the screen when they're telling their stories, but they can look at me and like they're talking to someone personally and tell their story. I never told anyone what to say. And Dr. Schwartz on the documentary says that he assessed all 4 of those people. He's gotten to know them well. And other than a little PTSD, they have no problems that would make them come up with something. They have no reason to either. As a matter of fact, it's against reason to have to deal with some ridicule or whatever. So I never asked him to vouch for them or to.
Have you ever thought about? There's an aspect to our culture, and I would say every culture on the planet, but that for some reason we accept our children having an imaginary friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I never had an imaginary friend growing up, and I was hoping that my daughter, Nicole, would come to me. I did. I was like, I had a voodoo doll. Man, I was trying to get this to happen. Anyway, that she would come to me and go, so who were you talking to in your bedroom? Oh, my imaginary friend. I never got that. I never experienced that. But society is okay with that. And it just makes me wonder if there's something more to that story. Right now, I don't have an experience to put on that, so I don't know. But certainly society is okay with hearing that. And maybe there's something else to it that may be extraterrestrial or an NHI.
There are things we allow up to a point, and then we want hard evidence. And if it's a child telling a story, we can accept a certain part of that. But adults telling their stories, that's we really want the evidence on that. And
you cannot have an adult go, well, okay, man, I'm hanging out with my imaginary friend.
No.
No, we can't have that.
Harvey.
But, right. But if it's our child having an imaginary play date in their bedroom, we're okay with that. Where do kids get this from? I've never seen the imaginary friend cartoon. I don't know where this grows out of unless the experience itself is founded in something that is real.
That almost opens a door to creativity, and creativity having the freedom of interdimensional. It's just like I'm saying, we need to embrace our interdimensionality. We need to embrace those aspects of ourselves that are consciousness and creative and can experience something outside of just our 3D physicality and the physics that we're within. And children don't seem to be too encased in that physicality, that three-dimensional world that we become so aware of.
Part of. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And think about it. They come from that soul, that beingness comes from somewhere else, and that soul and beingness will go to somewhere else. So this meat suit. This is a temporary inhabitants that we have, incarnate that we are. So I think because they're so new on the planet that they're allowed to bring their creative and maybe their experiences that they're having in ways that because we have this world view from our dimensionality that we're encased in, we can't perceive it like they do. So I think that's more or less allowable, I think, personally. But
Well, if we, and I ask everybody to do this, and I'll do it right now. If you just unpack something from your past and just examine it for a quick second, is it what you really thought it was? Right? Or was it something else? And so many, you put that stuff, excuse me, you put that stuff in a box, put it in a safe place, you put it on the shelf, and life goes on. Right? Well, you know what? Go and take that thing off the shelf. Open up that box. Take a look at it for a second and really think about it. I think everybody on this planet, everybody, the atheist, most chemical, scientific, pragmatic, black and white person has one of those experiences that they just want to keep it there.
Oh,
in
yeah.
a safe place.
Absolutely. And as you let someone, and that's what this documentary does. It sort of warms people up to the fact that they can tell their stories. It's not, these people are brave to come forward and say the things they're saying. They are. And again, we don't want to preach to the choir. Hopefully Rotarians worldwide will see something like this.
Rotarian.
Really.
Do you remember, let me ask you this. Do you remember your first MUFON meeting?
Yes, I do.
How amazing was it?
I was like, I want to do this. I want to go out and investigate these people's experiences. What could be? I thought it was just it was magic. It was outside the realm of the everyday goings on. I have a feeling you had the same kind of experience too with that, right?
I do. But before my first MUFON meeting, for decades, I would keep my UFO videos and books and magazines hidden.
Oh,
okay? That stuff, people come over to my house. They didn't see that stuff. Wasn't on the coffee table.
Oh my gosh. It's time to come out. It's time to come out. When I started the documentary, I had been working as a communications director for a company that was in 35 countries in the world, and they were into sustainable agriculture. They had horticulturists that would work with farmers and so forth, and beautiful company, and I was so happy to be working with them. And as communications director, I had an office, but they also would ask me to sit up at the front desk and help out there, and they even put extra screens so I could do my graphics work and all that I did for them. So I would be there, and of course I'm trying to exit, and I'm still working on my documentary, and it went slower than I thought. We had COVID hit in the middle of it and everything. Anyway, the alien creature that I described in the first scene that the little boy examines and looks at close up, and I had discussed with a creature maker to make it, and he was sending it to me via FedEx. So I didn't want it out on my front porch in a big box that someone could pirate away. And so I had them deliver it up there to the office where I was. And I knew I was going to be that particular day on the front desk, and that this big FedEx box, about 4 feet tall and a foot and
with
a half
a dead body in it.
with an alien body in there. It's going to be there, right? So here I am at the front desk, and I'm doing, annual
I wonder
report.
what FedEx thought as that thing went through the X-ray machine.
Who knows? But I'm trying to live the normal life too, and I keep body and soul together, keep paying for my documentary, and so I'm working on this annual reports and everything, and people would come up and say, how's it going? And I would do their newsletter going to 35 countries. And so that's the way I kept up with what's going on in Ethiopia or Brazil, or in different parts, the company doing different parts of the world, and it would give me something to share in these newsletters I would create to kind of make it cohesive for a 35 country company. Anyway, so here comes the FedEx man, and he on a dolly brings the box, and he says, "Where do you want this?" I said, "Oh, just bring it around the desk right next to me right here." I thought, "Oh, this is going to be a long afternoon." God. So, and I'm working away, and people would come up and say, "Hey, Sharon, what's in the box?" I go, "It's a prop. It's a prop." I wasn't going to open that up for anybody. What ridicule, what it wouldn't just be curiosity. It would be ridicule going on over, making the film I'm making and having some, there was no way in the world I was going to open that box up. But it was funny realizing that the majority of people would have ridiculed it tremendously.
Yeah. And to that end, it's been a pretty crazy month in the UFO community with it's breaking news left and right, and hearings and the media and orbs and drones and everything that's been going on. And then you combine all of that with this alien invasion that was supposed to happen on December 3rd. And I was pretty surprised about the reaction from both sides of the fence about that. Nobody really freaked out, and like Orson Welles and War of the Worlds, right? Well, that was a big freak out. This time around, why do you think the reaction was so different? With everybody?
I've talked to some people. I actually know some people who were contracting with the space program, so forth. I've had some wonderful whistleblowers to inform me over the years, and they're even surprised. They're surprised that the public reaction is not as big as they thought it would be in a lot of ways. And and one of the women who's involved with our documentary, and she had worked for 5 TV stations in town, and she decided to start doing polling, calling people, just surveying people. She's done 900 surveys of phone calls, and some of them in other countries too. And a lot of people say, "Look, life is hard. I'm trying to keep food on the table, gas in my car just so I can go to work and keep the house warm. I hope there are aliens out there. I hope they're good ones that don't attack us. And when the time comes, we'll know them. And it's not a big deal for me." So we've been acclimated by Hollywood to the ET fact, and people have their everyday lives and are struggling. I mean, we live on a planet where people starve to death every day. We live on a planet where in Africa, there are certain places in Africa where not only is there no greenery anywhere, nothing, no agriculture, basically they're in desert areas, but the trees, they take the leaves from the trees and make tea and eat the leaves for sustenance. This is the world we live in.
That sounds like downtown LA to me.
Yeah.
I'm not being cavalier here at
No,
all.
I understand.
It's everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Well, so, ET show up. That's cool too. But
well, I was kind of looking forward to it. I speaking of the acclamation of Hollywood on us and the way that we perceive some of this. Well, would it be cool? Now, everybody, don't take this the wrong way. Okay, take this the right way. Would it be cool to defeat the aliens? Would it be cool to live the movie Independence Day? Would it be cool to, for me to have my Jeep and some extra tanks of gas on the top of it and drive across the, and go and fight the aliens with all of my fellow humans. I was kind of looking forward to it, and it didn't happen. And I got the Jeep gassed up, Sharon. I was ready.
We make it homogenous when we say the word aliens. Yes, there are some that come in craft. There are some that do not need a craft. There are some that we could defeat out in the desert, and there are others that could just paralyze us flat.
For sure. If they wanted to, you and I wouldn't even have this conversation. It would be over.
No.
Well, let me ask you this. I love this conversation. I would love to go out to dinner with you and just have this conversation.
Let's do this.
How many experiencers are okay with the experience and would do it again?
Jim Mars talks about this in the documentary. And he says, we hear a lot of the scary stuff. And he said, but really, he has found there's an equal, if not bigger portion that have very exciting, somewhat blissful experiences. But they don't make as much noise as the ones who have had the difficult time. And are you familiar with Ray Hernandez and the consciousness?
Of course, yeah, Ray's great.
Yeah.
Ray's great.
And I used to email with Dr. Edgar Mitchell back in the 90s. He had the Noetic Institute back then, and we, I in the 70s, I actually stood with Uri Geller and had a fork. I'm not a fork. I had my car key, and bent the car key over. So I've been on this journey for a while, and Ray, he did in his survey, the FREE study, FREE, that he and Dr. Edgar Mitchell and other esteemed colleagues involved in this, they did a survey with 4,500 experiencers. I was one, and they're in their study, and I bring it out in the documentary, and we had to take a lot out because we didn't want it to be a PowerPoint presentation. It's Marshall McLuhan's The Medium is the Message. We wanted everybody to have an experience watching this. So, but Ray brings out that about 37% consider their experiences negative at the beginning, but they found that over a period of time, let's say an experiencer had not just that one abduction, but 3 or 4 or 5 others, that over time, and according to the type of ETs that they had experiences with, like light beings and Pleiadians and Arcturians are wonderful, but some of the mantis and reptoids are pretty, some, not all reptoids, but some can be pretty awful. So depending on how many experiences an experiencer has had and the type of beings they had an experience with, that number from 37% went down to around 5% negative. So really and truly, if and Kathleen Marden does work on this too, going from the fear factor, if you can transition from the fear, and it's amazing. You think you can, but you get scared out of your mind.
For sure.
Yeah. But if you can transition from that fear to more of a curiosity stage, and then go from that curiosity stage more into a communication stage, and that's mostly done with ESP. And then you can have, and Carolyn Corey conducts meditation seminars on this, and I went to one of hers, and it was divine. A blissful state in communicating. Then you have a better chance at having a good experience if you can move through those stages, and they are definite stages. And that's something that this documentary also presents.
Well, if somebody said, now I don't know if Vegas would take this bet, but I bet that if you have somebody that has had multiple contact experiences and considered them negative or what have you, or had fear built up, but suddenly they stopped, they would want them to come back. I'm
It's
serious,
kind of a
man.
that's
E.T., wasn't I good enough?
right.
Come back, man.
Yeah, I was
I'm being
thinking
very
that.
serious.
Yes.
I'm saying 100%.
That's
100%.
that's actually a known thing. There are
Yeah.
people in Ray's survey too. They dealt with that. Would you really want? Yes, please let me do this again.
100%.
I might be able to do it better. I might be now. Now. I want to.
I would do it better.
I,
Oh, God, that's awesome.
there's certain things that inform my research. Okay, and one of them, a very important one. My husband, who passed away 18 years ago, we were married for 25 years, and he was considerably older than me. He was a Holocaust survivor. And he and his sister, and a friend of theirs who actually married his sister later, all survived. He and the friend were in the Mauthausen camp in Austria. His sister was in Auschwitz. And actually, they were at Auschwitz for a little while as a forced labor group, and then ended up in Mauthausen. And luckily, they survived, even though all their families were tortured and killed. And because of their stories, and he and his sister more so actually, would tell me story after story and event after event that happened in the camps. And I became aware of mankind's inhumanity to man in a way that I never thought was possible.
Well, do you feel that? Okay. And on that note, are we growing out of that? Right?
I think we'll have great contact once we do.
Yeah. I feel that too. I think that ET has, no matter which species or what part of the universe they're from, if they are getting to this planet, okay, if they are getting here, then they would have evolved through and lived through all of the bullshit that we're going through now.
Oh,
and
centuries ago, eons ago.
Yep. And grew from that and matured from that. And right now we are, if I was going to put it out on a scale, I would say that we are 20-year-olds in college. sophomore year in college, not freshman party, being stupid, but that sophomore kind of thing. Because by the time you're a junior or getting ready to graduate, the reality of life hits you, and suddenly you try to be an adult and you've moved on. We're not there yet, right? We're not quite there, but
I'd put us at preteens, actually.
Well, we got a long ways to go yet. But
it depends on where you are on the path. Where you are on the path.
I know a few preteens for sure.
Here's something interesting from Jim Mars and Terry. Terry and I were driving to AlienCon the day before the panel that we were all on, and we just wanted to see some of the other panels. And we're driving the car, and we're talking about, the iniquity of mankind. And, there's a difference between the intention. Intention to torture and kill another human being is so different than the intention to get biological material from a human being. Okay. So there's intention involved all the way around, from the Nazis to the ETs. And Jim Mars, I was talking with Terry. I said, Terry, I know we're going to come up with this question in the panel we're going to do about intention, and how are they all evil and bad, these ETs? Are they all good? What kind of percentages or anything in there? I said, the only thing I've come up with in Jim Mars' book, he mentions about in his estimation, from all that he had researched and learned everything within his time, that there were probably 10 to 15% of malicious intending ETs. I mean, could look at you like a sack lunch. Okay. And that's not always malicious. I mean, we'll eat a hamburger, and are we malicious to those cows? No. So here's Jim Marrs coming up with a 10 to 15%, and he comes up with it in his book. And I thought, well, that's really worthwhile noting that. And Terry says, because now Terry is an attorney, he says, Sharon, that percentage is what we consider part of our criminal element within the justice system. That basically there's about 10 to 15% of the population who would fall into the criminal population. And I said, that kind of matches. So, we're trying to go by whatever we can in this.
Well, but that makes
situation.
That has to be. It's a numbers game.
Yeah,
it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
So if you look at the universe, and I'm not naive, I'm not dumb.
Me either.
Not all ETs are benevolent. That are going to arrive here with a fleet of unicorns.
Kumbaya.
No, yeah, right. No, it's a numbers game, and surely, just like in your town that you live in, you've got somebody that just wasn't born right, and that person. My brother, he's not with us anymore. He's dead. His name's Mike. He passed away a couple of years ago. But Mike, the opposite of me, criminal. He's a criminal, man. I mean, we were 5 years old, 6 years old. I'd come out of a store with him, with my mom, and his pockets would be full of stuff, right? I never did, I just didn't have the gene for some reason, and he was okay with it. You couldn't reason it out of him. It was just so fun. But anyway, everybody knows that, and that's the universe too as well. It's a numbers game, but I think that, and it's 50-50, black and white, but I think good will always be at 50.1%, right? It's going to lean, it's going to lean that way. And that's
maybe more.
I'm not naive. I'm not at all. But I think that everybody, even the bad, want to be good.
Well, in acting, you're taught that if you play the role of a villain, that villain believes they are right with what they are doing. They believe with every fiber of their being that they are the correct one, not the others. And so.
And you're not going to talk them out of it.
No.
So,
and when I first was interviewing and so forth, and someone came to me and said, all those aliens, they're demons. They're absolute demons. And I looked at her and I said, I know humans who are demons. I know people who are demons. Don't just say all the aliens are demons. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, when I was
on this planet today, they're the bad ones.
It's so true. When I was a kid, I mean, I was watching my brother. He was younger than me by a year or two, just getting away. And so one day I'm sitting in the shopping cart. Where you put the kids and your legs hang out, right? The fold out seat thing.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there. I'm probably 5 years old. I'm right in there, kindergarten. But that's where I'm sitting. And my mom comes up to the cash register and she's paying for something. On the cash register is a little Matchbox car out of the box. And it's just sitting there. And the lady's bagging up, and I just go, whoop, and I take it. Right? Okay. And I'd never done anything like that, but I did. So now I'm at home and I'm playing with this Matchbox car, and my sister rats me out. Jimmy took the car from the. My mom comes to me and says, "What's in your hand?" And I show her, "Where'd you get that?" And I told her. She puts me in the car, takes me back to the supermarket, and makes me give it back.
Oh,
And I'm sitting there on the seat of the car, terrified, all the
good
way there,
mom.
just freaking out. I'm just freaking out. I've got to go and do that. And I said, "But Mom, Mike steals stuff all the time." And she's like, "You're not Mike. Okay? All right? Get it
She
in your
held you
head."
to a better. She held you to a better standard.
You
She
know,
knew you were a
she
son.
did. Yeah, and that was the first and last time I ever pulled anything like that. Yeah. Yeah, God, I was so embarrassed. Oh, here's the clincher to the story. The cashier
Yeah.
said I could keep it. Yeah.
Oh.
I was like, "Mom," she goes, nope. Give it to her. She said I could have it. Yeah. But yeah, that was it. Man, I was a saint. I was a saint. But okay, so what do we do, speaking of good and evil here, where you have the experiencers out there that will go up against, the bad experiencers that will argue all day long with the good experiencers, saying that, no, man, that aliens are bad. You are preaching the wrong message here. And Stephen Hawking said, we don't need to be broadcasting out to the
No.
universe our location, because you don't know who you're broadcasting to. Right? And so what do we do with that? We can't change people's experiences, but there are some out there that are going to say, no, aliens bad.
Yeah, I've been attacked for that. Well, I just showed the good, the bad, and the ugly. The range. I'm not kumbayaing it. I've got a double voice happening again.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
you popped up on the screen. How did you
yeah.
do that? You got to
I
quit clicking on stuff, young
was I
lady.
was I gone all this time?
No, you were okay. It should be gone now.
Well, I don't see myself anymore. Let's see.
Well, don't worry
Maybe.
about that, Sharon. You're live. You're live.
Okay.
You're live.
Okay. I'll just.
And we are at the end of the show. And
Already? Oh.
yeah. Can you believe it? Well, that's when you know it's a good show. That's when you know it's a good show. It just passed by. Now, how do you expect everybody to take the film outside of our community? Are they going to step back and go, "This is something I haven't ever considered," or do you think they're going to learn something? What's your take? What's your hope?
I've been getting a lot of feedback from people who've seen it, and the ones who are within our community, our UFO ET community, and are exploring their experiences, sharing them with others, and so forth, are grateful and happy to see this type of thing come forward. Basically, everyone seems to be involved with the mechanics. Where are the crash retrieval vehicles? Where are the ET bodies that have been retrieved? Making the government accountable. That whole thing is going on, and it's moving forward. It is. This is keeping the experiencers' stories alive. It's part of it. It's contributing to this disclosure process in its own way. We're not involved with the nuts and the bolts. That's not some, we understand some use craft, some come in interdimensionally, but we're involved with how do we deal with it personally. And I think the more that people explore that aspect, how would they deal with it if they remembered? How would they deal with it if it happens tomorrow to them? So we're just part of the process, moving the story along in the bigger neighborhood that we happen to be in, and we're all growing up. It's our contribution, sharing these stories. I'll tell you one thing: these experiencers, they wanted their stories told in the strongest way possible. They do not want to leave this planet without sharing it. And many of them no longer have corporations that they work for, ready to fire them over something like this. They're ready to take their stand and come what may. They may be ridiculed, no matter what. They want their stories told. And these are great stories to share. They really are.
I often wonder what would Congress, I mean, it would be great if the day comes where the experiencers get to go in front of Congress and in front of the Senate and testify, raise their hand and go under oath and tell their stories. It's gonna happen. Once this blows up and goes out and goes crazy town, and it's going to be a great day when it happens. Well, the experiencers need to have their platform, their podium, and their voice heard.
And Stephen Bassett has brought forth certain press conferences, and he's had experiencers or people talk about experiencers there. It's a groundswell. It's a groundswell. It has to keep happening. At the end of our documentary, I have Nick Pope discussing. Are you familiar with who Haim Eshed is?
Of course.
Okay. I have Nick Pope talking about him, and I really was grateful for Nick because I wanted Haim's statements to be brought forth at the end of this documentary, and who better than a former Minister of Defense presenting the material from a recently retired Minister of Defense of Israel, who is stating that underground facilities on Mars, we have ETs and the U.S. government and the Israeli government working with ETs on projects there. Now, how strong of a comment does anyone need to know what's going on? We also have recently, are you familiar with retired Colonel Carl Nell, who went before the SALT conference just this summer and said, absolutely, there is zero doubt that we have ETs that we are working with and have been working with for a very long time. So these statements from people who are high level military, what more can we ask for? I mean, they are coming.
What it does, you're right. What it does, and I want to thank you for this great conversation tonight, Sharon. It was absolutely perfect. What that does, it is something that allows the conversation to move forward, to expand the conversation. I don't have the proof of Haim's statements or anybody else's. That stuff is tightly held secrets. But it does allow the conversation to move forward. And that's the best part about it. We've never been in history. We can go back and look at all of the efforts from NICAP in the 60s and how the movement for disclosure in Washington. This was a big project in the 1950s and 1960s. And when you look at that back then, it seemed like we were very, very close. And then it just kind of went away for whatever reason. But today eclipses even those efforts.
Yes.
And and NICAP was serious. That was a man. MUFON's cool. Nothing compared to what NICAP was, or who was on their board of directors and everything else. And not only that, but the CIA was involved. The Navy was involved. The Department of Defense was involved. And it was a very, very, very serious effort. As crazy as that was, today is even nuttier. It eclipses those efforts.
There's a bigger groundswell.
Yes.
There are more people coming forward, and there's a bigger push, a heavier push right now, the heaviest I've seen in my lifetime, at least. So, and of course, we could have a whole other conversation about deep underground military bases, ETs living under there, ETs living in underwater bases. I understand there are 5 huge ones. These are from inside people telling me these.
Well, yeah, and I think that the government, the Navy, the Air Force, they know the locations of these.
Oh,
these
we've been working with them forever. We've been working with them forever. Yeah,
I feel pretty confident.
There's bigger conversations on all that too, but I just thought I'd just do something very subjective and personal on these stories to bring them forward.
Where can everybody see the film?
Right now, we are on Amazon Prime, and we are on UFO TV. Tim Crawford of UFO TV is our distributor, and he has us nicely on both of those platforms, streaming platforms, and he has submitted us for 3 or 4 other streaming platforms. And there's a vetting period, and we're just about at the end of that, so we should be on the other platforms like Hulu and Apple TV and those type of things very soon, very, very soon.
Yeah, Tim gets it done. That's a good man right there.
He's fabulous. He is
the best. Big shout out to Tim.
He did our poster. This is what it looks like if you go and click on it. And he's just been so supportive. I met Tim over 7 years ago at a MUFON conference in Las Vegas, where William Mills Tompkins spoke about our secret space program. And that was a life changer for me. That was fabulous. Yeah.
Sharon, keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much. And I look forward to our next conversation.
Me too. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you, Sharon. Have a great
night.
Thank
you, Michelle. Thank you for everything. Thank you.
Absolutely. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too. I can't wait for your show tomorrow night. Oh, wow.
I'll see you then.
Okay.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Have a great night. This is Fade to Black. I want to thank Sharon and Alien Experiencers. The links for Sharon are below, and you can go check it out at Amazon and UFO TV. And I will see everybody here tomorrow night. We're going to do a very special presentation of Fade to Black, which will be a full recap of my trip to Peru with Brian Forrester. Until tomorrow night, all I've got is Go Back Lee Tappy. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go back, Lee Tappy.